I watched $60,000 evaporate into the humid Singaporean air
Yeah.
7 years ago. It wasn't because I didn't know my product. I knew the specs, the data, the projections. I mean, I had all of that memorized down to the decimal point. I lost that money because in a room full of sharks, I sounded like a nervous child pleading for a gold star.
Wow, that is a visceral way to start a morning coffee. You're
Yeah.
really going right for the jugular today.
I kind of have to because I'm sitting here and I'm listening to that steam wand behind the counter. Do you hear that? That violent metallic hiss.
Oh, yeah. It's hard to miss. It cuts right through the traffic noise from the street.
Exactly. And I've been watching the barista while waiting for you to get here. He's got this practice nonchalance, the way he taps the portafilter against the counter, the way he purges the steam wand. He isn't rushing. He isn't apologizing for the noise he's making. He commands the space. And it had hit me just now. This guy making lattes has more executive leadership presence than I had in that boardroom in Singapore 7 years ago.
Oh, you're going back to the invisible ceiling again, aren't you?
I can't help it. It's the smell of the beans, those roasted, slightly bitter notes. It smells exactly like the hotel lobby where I sat after the deal fell apart. I was 29. I was wearing a suit that cost me a month's rent. I had memorized every single grammar rule in the textbook. And I realized, sitting there with my head in my hands, that my perfect grammar was completely useless.
It's interesting watching you right now. I'm just sitting here, enjoying the flow of the street, the way the morning light is hitting the pavement, and you're scanning your past like it's a cluttered spreadsheet trying to find the broken formula.
Because the formula was broken. That's the thing. That's the invisible ceiling. It's that agonizing paradox where being a good student, doing everything right, following all the rules, checking every box, it's the exact mechanism that stops you from becoming a great leader.
It makes sense, though, if you think about how we're conditioned. For 20 years, from kindergarten through university, we are trained to be compliant. We are trained that there is one right answer and the teacher holds it. But leadership isn't about compliance.
No,
Yeah.
it really isn't.
It.
And that was a very expensive lesson.
So take me back to the room, the Singapore room. When you say you were a student in a boardroom, what does that actually look like in practice? Because I assume you weren't, raising your hand and asking for permission to speak.
I might as well have been. It was a complete disaster of tone. The investors, they didn't speak the English I learned in the quiet, air-conditioned language centers back home. They spoke in these jagged sentences. Lots of slang, cultural shorthand. It felt like a secret code. They'd crack a joke and I'd smile, like 3 seconds too late because I was still processing the syntax in my head.
Ah, you were buffering.
I was completely buffering. And when I finally spoke, I was precise. I was grammatically perfect. I explained the technical specs of the product without a single error, and I was utterly, completely boring.
Right. You're swimming in the pool.
The pool.
Yeah, it's a metaphor I use. The swimming pool versus the ocean. Think about where you learn to speak. Language apps, classrooms, textbooks. That is a swimming pool.
Oh, I see. It's controlled. It's artificial.
Exactly. The water is clear. There are lane markers painted right on the bottom so you know exactly where to go. There is a lifeguard blowing a whistle if you do something dangerous. But most importantly, it's safe. You get rewarded for staying in your lane and not splashing. You get your gold star for not making mistakes.
Right. And in that boardroom, I was trying to be the best swimmer in the pool. I was obsessed with not making a mistake. I really thought if I didn't make a mistake, they would just give me the money.
But the business world, especially high-stakes venture capital in a place like Singapore, that isn't a pool. That's the ocean. There are no lanes, there are storms, there are riptides and currents you can't even see. No one cares if your breaststroke form is technically perfect according to the manual. They only care if you can navigate the chaos without drowning.
That feels painfully accurate. I was drowning, but I was drowning with perfect form.
In the ocean, nobody cares about your prepositions. They care about your survival instinct. They care about your ability to read the water. Actually, this brings up a word I've been thinking about lately. Abyssal.
Oh, I love that word. It has such a heavy energy to it.
It really does. It comes from the abyss, right? The deep ocean. But it's not just deep. Deep is a hole in the ground. Deep is just a measurement. Abyssal is the crushing weight of the unknown.
Look at the shadows cast by those high-rises across the street right now. That dark, cool shade that just swallows the road, that feels abyssal.
Yes. It implies that there is a world of high-stakes complexity looming right above us, something massive that we can't fully see or control. So when you're in a meeting, having abyssal energy means you accept that depth.
It means comfort with ambiguity.
Precisely. Having abyssal energy means accepting that you don't know everything, but you remain functional under the pressure of that ignorance. In that room, you had zero abyssal energy. You were terrified of the deep water. The more they used sarcasm or nuance, the more you retreated into your student shell. You were just waiting for a grade.
And investors don't grade homework.
No, they don't. They buy a vision or they walk. And they walked.
They walked because they couldn't trust me. I realized later they weren't looking for a linguist. They were looking for a captain. And captains don't worry about conjugation tables when the storm hits.
Because you were translating words. You weren't reading the silence. Leadership in the ocean requires you to read the ripples, not just the water. The silence after a proposal, the slight tilt of a head, the way someone shifts in their chair. That's where the deal lives. Textbooks don't teach you how to read the ripples.
Speaking of reading the room, look at that guy across the street.
The one getting out of the black sedan.
Yeah, no suit. Just that fitted linen shirt. But look at how he talks to the valet. It was maybe 3 words: brief, clear, effortless. He just owns the sidewalk.
He looks comfortable in his own skin. He's not performing for anyone.
He's wearing what I call tailor-made words,
Okay, I like where this is going. Tailor-made as opposed to what?
as opposed to T-shirt vocabulary. That's what I was using back then in Singapore. T-shirt words are cheap, comfortable, generic. Everyone wears them. They fit everyone, which means they fit no one perfectly. I'd say things like, we have a big problem with the market, or the results were very good.
Sure. It's functional. It covers the body. It conveys the basic meaning.
But it has no texture. It has no authority. When you're stuck under that invisible ceiling, your language is just a collection of generic garments. You say big because you're afraid to say monumental. You say bad because volatile feels too risky. You use the words you know you won't get wrong rather than the words that are actually right.
This connects to another specific energy, doesn't it? Sartorial.
Exactly. Usually sartorial refers to clothes, right?
Huh.
Tailoring, style, elegance. But here I'm talking about the fit and finish of a thought.
Sartorial. Yeah, it feels deliberate. It's the difference between a rough draft and a masterpiece. When you use a word like stumbling block instead of just problem, or advantageous instead of just good, you are tailoring your language to fit the gravity of the situation. It feels expensive.
It feels intentional. That's the key. If I had told those investors, we have encountered a daunting challenge, but here's our mitigation strategy, I would have sounded like a leader with a plan. Instead, I said, there is a big problem.
Oof. Yeah, there is a big problem. Sounds like a student standing outside the principal's office holding a broken vase.
Exactly. The student waits for permission. The leader provides the narrative.
It's amazing how we shrink ourselves with language. We try to be small so we don't get hit, but in business, if you're small, you're invisible.
But let's be clear. It's not about using a thesaurus to find the longest word possible. That's a trap, too.
Right, that just makes you sound pretentious or insecure in a completely different way.
Sartorial means it fits. Sometimes the sartorial choice is a very simple word. If the house is on fire, the sartorial word is fire, not conflagration. But in that boardroom, I wasn't choosing words. I was just grabbing whatever was closest to my brain.
So we have the ocean mindset, and we have sartorial vocabulary. But looking back at your failure, and I know you've analyzed this to death, was it just the words? Or was it how you put them together?
Oh, it's the structure. I was looking back at my notes from that pitch. Yes, I still have them. Don't laugh. And I realized I was building wooden huts.
Wooden huts.
My logic was completely flat. It was linear and additive. I was saying, this is the product. And it is fast, but it is expensive. So we need you.
Brick, brick, brick.
Exactly. It's just a list of facts laid side by side. It's one-dimensional.
I can see it. It provides shelter. I mean, it conveys the information, but it doesn't offer view. It doesn't inspire anyone to climb.
To break the ceiling, I had to learn to build skyscrapers. I needed the steel beams of higher logic. This is where we get into those transition words that students absolutely hate learning. Not just and or, but words like furthermore, nevertheless, consequently.
Those aren't just transition words, though. In this context, they are logical connectors. They bear weight.
They are the girders. Think about nevertheless. It is a massive steel beam that allows you to pivot against opposition without breaking. You acknowledge the negative, like the market is down, and then you use nevertheless to swing the entire argument in a new direction. Consequently, anchors your conclusion in reality. It shows cause and effect.
You're talking about cohesion.
That's the defining characteristic, cohesion.
That word has a feeling of tightness. but in a good way, like a knot that won't slip. It's the invisible force that keeps a tall structure from swaying too much in the wind.
In life philosophy, isn't it the internal consistency of character?
Absolutely. It's the feeling that your words, your actions, and your goals are all part of one singular, unbreakable structure. Without cohesion, you're just a pile of expensive bricks.
And that's what it was, a pile of bricks. I was asking those investors to buy a hut when they were looking for a skyline. The student provides information, that's the hut. The leader provides an argument, that's the skyscraper. People want to live in the skyscraper. They want to be part of the vision.
So let's pivot to the solution. You have this realization. You're broken in Singapore. You realize you're building huts and wearing linguistic t-shirts. How did you fix it? Because knowing the theory is one thing, but retraining your brain is another.
I had to get into the ocean. I realized that studying more grammar rules would just make me a better swimmer in the pool. And I didn't need that. I needed survival skills. So I developed a technique that felt ridiculous at first. I call it the unexpected blueprint.
Sounds mysterious. How does it work?
It's actually very simple, but it's mentally exhausting. I started explaining complex concepts, artificial intelligence, venture capital structures, geopolitics, to an imaginary 5-year-old in my head.
Why a 5-year-old?
Because if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it. But the real trick wasn't the simplification. It was the strict no translation rule. See, when I was failing, I was thinking in Thai and translated to English. That keeps you 1 second behind. You're waiting for the mental dictionary to load.
That delay is lethal in a negotiation. It kills the rhythm. It kills the trust. It makes you look like you're hiding something.
Exactly. It breaks eye contact, makes you look unsure. But when you force yourself to simplify a complex idea directly in English, without touching your native language, you're building a new blueprint. You force your brain to find workarounds.
This requires a lot of perspicacity.
Perspicacity. Now there's a word you don't hear every day. It's one of my favorites.
It feels like a sharp, clean lens. The energy of clarity.
Like looking through a freshly cleaned window.
Yes. Or, right now, listen to the cafe again. The grinders, the traffic outside, the chatter at the tables. Perspicacity is the ability to pick out the one sound that matters amidst all this noise. In leadership, it's the ability to strip away the jargon and speak the truth so clearly that it becomes undeniable.
That's exactly what the 5-year-old exercise does. It forces perspicacity. I'd be stuck in traffic in Bangkok, looking at the brake lights, trying to explain how a neural network learns, but using only the English vocabulary I already had available. No dictionary, no cheating. If I didn't know the word for algorithm, I had to say a recipe for math.
That's brilliant. It turns English from a subject you study into a tool you use to survive. You stop checking if the word is correct and start checking if the message is landing.
Precisely. And that shift is everything.
Yeah.
It's like our friend the barista again. Do you think he's calculating the chemical breakdown of the milk proteins right now?
Definitely not. He's just feeling the heat of the pitcher.
He's moved from rules to flow. He trusts his hands.
It's funny how the light has shifted since we started talking.
Oh, you're right.
Look outside. The sun has turned that warm golden hue. It must be late afternoon. The cafe is at peak activity now. Look around us. Really look at the tables.
I see them.
Do you see any students?
No. I see people negotiating. I see a couple over there flirting. I see those 2 guys arguing about politics.
No one is waiting for a teacher to tell them they did a good job.
And that's the ultimate lesson, isn't it? I just finished my coffee, and the bitterness is gone. The lesson is that international success isn't a vocabulary test. It's a trust test.
That is the core truth. If you speak like a student, the world gives you homework. They give you tasks. They give you constructive feedback.
And they pat you on the head and send you on your way.
Right, but they don't give you the keys to the kingdom.
But if you speak like a leader, if you accept the abyssal depth of the ocean, if you tailor your words with sartorial fit, if you build skyscrapers of cohesive logic, the world gives you a contract.
Because they trust that you can handle the storm. They trust that when the grammar of the market breaks down, you will still be standing.
We are all, in some way, trying to break through that invisible ceiling. I know if you are listening to us right now, you probably feel it. That pressure to be perfect, that fear that if you mispronounce a vowel, you lose the deal.
It requires vulnerability to break it. You have to be willing to abandon the safety of the correct answer.
It does. It requires admitting that your perfect grammar might be the very wall separating you from other people. You have to be willing to be a little messy to be real.
Shall we? The city is getting loud.
Yeah, let's head out. Stepping out into this heat, The city is a daunting challenge for some, a chaotic mess. But for us,
It's a skyscraper waiting to be built.
let's stop waiting for a grade.
Succeed together.